Queen Victoria was just 5 feet tall, yet she ruled over the largest empire the world had ever seen. Imagine this diminutive figure draped in black silk, reviewing her troops. Picture her receiving foreign dignitaries in the opulent halls of Buckingham Palace. It's a striking image that captures the essence of her reign, a fascinating paradox of personal restraint and global domination. Victoria ascended the throne in 1837, a young woman thrust into a position of immense power. She inherited a Britain already undergoing rapid transformation. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, fueled by coal and steam. New inventions were appearing at a dizzying pace. The British Empire, with its colonies and dominions, sprawled across the globe. Victoria, despite her youth and inexperience, embraced her role with determination. She possessed a strong sense of duty and a deep love for her country. Her reign, which spanned over 6 decades, would see Britain reach the zenith of its power and influence. It was a time of both great progress and deep contradictions. Under Victoria's reign, the British Empire expanded at an unprecedented rate. Vast territories in Africa, Asia and the Pacific fell under British control. This expansion was driven by a complex mix of economic ambition, political strategy, and a belief in the superiority of British civilization. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," became a common saying. The driving force behind this global expansion was the Industrial Revolution. Britain was at the forefront of technological innovation. New machines, powered by steam and later electricity, revolutionized manufacturing and transportation. Factories sprang up across the country, drawing in workers from rural areas. Cities swelled in size, becoming centers of both industry and social change. This period also saw significant advancements in science and medicine. Charles Darwin published his groundbreaking work on evolution, On the Origin of Species, in 1859. Medical breakthroughs, such as the development of anesthesia and the discovery of bacteria, led to improvements in public health. The Victorian era was a time of intellectual ferment, with new ideas and discoveries challenging old certainties. Perhaps no invention better symbolizes the Victorian era than the railway. The first steam-powered trains began operating in Britain in the 1820s. Within a few decades, a vast network of railway lines crisscrossed the country, connecting distant cities and transforming the landscape. Railways facilitated the movement of goods and people on an unprecedented scale. They fueled industrial growth by transporting raw materials to factories and finished products to consumers. Railways also made it easier for people to travel, both within Britain and to other parts of the empire. The railways were more than just a technological marvel. They also had a profound impact on Victorian society and culture. Train travel became a popular pastime, and railway stations emerged as bustling hubs of social activity. The railways even influenced literature and art, inspiring writers like Charles Dickens and painters like J.M.W. Turner. In 1897, Queen Victoria celebrated her Diamond Jubilee, marking 60 years on the throne. The celebrations were a spectacular display of imperial grandeur. Representatives from all corners of the empire flocked to London to pay homage to their queen. The streets were decked with flags and crowds lined the route of the royal procession, eager to catch a glimpse of their aging monarch. The Diamond Jubilee marked the high point of the British Empire. Victoria, now an elderly widow, had become a symbol of stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world. She was revered by her subjects, both at home and overseas. Her image, often depicted in paintings and photographs, became an iconic representation of British power and prestige. However, beneath the surface of imperial pomp and ceremony, there were signs of change. The British Empire faced growing challenges from rival powers such as Germany and the United States. Nationalist movements were gaining momentum in many parts of the empire. The Victorian era, for all its achievements, was drawing to a close. The Victorian era was a time of stark contrasts. While the wealthy elite enjoyed unprecedented levels of luxury and comfort, the poor often lived in squalid conditions. The rapid industrialization and urbanization had created a large underclass of factory workers, miners and slum dwellers. Cities like London and Manchester were plagued by poverty, disease and crime. Families crammed into overcrowded tenements, often lacking basic sanitation. Child labour was commonplace, with children as young as 5 working long hours in factories and mines. The plight of the poor stood in stark contrast to the opulence displayed by the upper classes. Social reformers and philanthropists such as Charles Dickens and Florence Nightingale worked tirelessly to expose the plight of the poor and bring about social change. They campaigned for improved housing, sanitation and working conditions. Their efforts led to the enactment of some important social reforms, but much remained to be done to alleviate the suffering of the most vulnerable members of Victorian society. The expansion of the British Empire under Victoria was not without its critics. From the outset, there were those who questioned the morality of imposing British rule on other nations and cultures. The exploitation of colonial resources and the treatment of indigenous populations raised serious ethical questions. One of the most controversial episodes of Victoria's reign was the Indian Rebellion of 1857. The rebellion, sparked by a number of grievances, including the introduction of new rifle cartridges greased with animal fat, offensive to both Hindu and Muslim soldiers, spread rapidly throughout northern India. The British government responded with brutal force, crushing the rebellion and tightening its grip on India. The Indian Rebellion forced the British to confront the human cost of empire. It also exposed the limits of British power and the fragility of colonial rule. The event left a lasting scar on Anglo-Indian relations and continues to be a subject of debate and controversy today. Despite the social problems and imperial controversies, the Victorian era also witnessed significant social and moral progress. Reform movements gained momentum, advocating for a wide range of causes, from women's suffrage to the abolition of slavery. One of the most significant social reforms of the era was the abolition of slavery throughout the British Empire in 1833. This landmark achievement was the culmination of decades of campaigning by abolitionists, who argued that slavery was a moral abomination. The movement to end slavery reflected a growing awareness of social justice and human rights within Victorian society. The Victorian era also saw the rise of new ideologies, such as utilitarianism and socialism, which challenged traditional notions of wealth, poverty and social responsibility. These intellectual currents helped to shape the political and social landscape of the late 19th century and beyond. As Victoria entered the twilight of her reign, the world around her was changing rapidly. The British Empire, though still vast, faced growing challenges from rival powers. New technologies, from the telephone to the automobile, were transforming everyday life. Victoria herself remained a symbol of continuity and stability in an era of unprecedented change. She continued to carry out her royal duties with her customary sense of duty and decorum until her death in 1901. Her passing marked the end of an era, not just for Britain but for the world. Her reign had witnessed remarkable progress in science, technology and industry. However, it had also been marked by social inequality, imperial expansion and moral dilemmas. Victoria's legacy, like the Victorian era itself, was complex and multifaceted. In the decades since her death, Queen Victoria's legacy has been the subject of much debate and re-evaluation. Some historians view her as a symbol of British greatness, a monarch who presided over a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Others argue that her reign was marked by imperial exploitation and social injustice. Today there is a growing recognition of the need to view Victoria and her era in all its complexity. It was a time of both great achievements and deep contradictions, a period of rapid progress and persistent inequality. To understand Victoria's legacy, we must grapple with both the positive and negative aspects of her reign. Ultimately, Victoria's reign serves as a reminder of the enduring power of the past to shape our present. It challenges us to confront the complexities of history and to grapple with the legacies of empire, colonialism, and social change. As we reflect on Queen Victoria's reign, we are forced to ask ourselves, how has this period shaped our own perceptions of the British Empire and its legacy? Do we see it primarily as a story of progress and enlightenment, or as a narrative of conquest and exploitation? The Victorian era, for all its complexities, continues to exert a powerful hold on our imaginations. Its literature, art and architecture continue to inspire and intrigue us. Its social and political struggles resonate with contemporary debates about inequality, justice, and the role of power in the modern world. By engaging with the history of Victoria's reign, we can gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our own world. We can learn from the mistakes of the past and draw inspiration from its triumphs. Most importantly, we can use history as a tool for critical reflection, helping us to navigate the challenges and opportunities of the present.